we're back right after the fights. Right after the
Eh,
fights. What did you think of those
This is
fights,
a.
by the way?
I thought this was an amazing fight night. Honestly, I mean, listen, I really enjoyed the fights. I mean, the co-main event, the main event, and the feature fight, all incredible fights. I mean, there weren't many bad fights tonight, but just to top off the main card with three absolute wars. The main event was not. There wasn't so much back and forth. I think Corey Sandhagen, really showed that he was the better man tonight. However, in that co-main event, the feature fight with Feely and and then we had Chidi, Nujquani versus Rodriguez, which is an absolute war. The main event was amazing. I think we should just get into the main event, but I mean I really like the card. What did you think of the card?
So I thought the card started out really bad with those two snooze fests. Now
Yeah, yeah,
I've been on live for like the last 4 hours, and yeah, I was pretty much sleeping after the first two fights, and then then the rest of the fights, the last three were absolutely amazing.
yeah.
That fight between what's it called? What's his name? Feely. That was a spectacular fight.
Andre Feely, Bill Aljo, what a fight! I
Aljo's
mean, that was an amazing fight.
yeah, Algio is a warrior for that. He
Yeah,
could have tapped in the third round, but he stuck through it and still lost the decision, but very impressive by him.
yeah.
Co-main was ridiculous.
Jeez,
RoboCop
man, I
on
thought
that.
Nujquani was gonna win that,
Yeah,
bro.
so
I
did I.
mean,
After that knee to the head. Oof.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people were picking him to win. Rodriguez, wow. I mean, that cut was nasty. It got opened up right in the middle of his face. And Chidi Njokuani stayed in there, but like honestly, it really just boiled down to grit and like just who wanted it
Digging
more.
deep, yeah.
Those are the fights that, sometimes you just see it and it really just boils down to grit, getting down and gritty. And you gotta give respect to Rodriguez because I mean, he basically fought, until he couldn't anymore, and he was the one who didn't wilt. I mean, it looked like Nijiquani kind of gassed out a little bit, and
Yeah, I think so.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
what
that
a
was a
war.
great fight though. That was spectacular. That was one of the best. I would say that was one of the best turnaround like comebacks of the year, honestly, because that knee in the beginning of the fight and then he wobbled him a bit. He also, but I mean,
Yeah,
RoboCop did wobble him towards the end of the round, but
yeah.
regardless, that was a ridiculous comeback and the grit was ridiculous there. And the thing I wanted to say before we talk about the main event, um, it's like it's the thing that's kind of frustrates me. It always frustrated me, and we've talked about it a bunch. But guys not calling people out. Like DC gives these fighters great opportunities to call other fighters out. It's the best chance to get the fight you want. And time out, these guys are just not getting calling anybody out. Like what is this? Like I'm sure people like every fighter is looking at one fight. Always. They're always
Yeah.
looking at a certain fight. And I just don't get why they don't call people out. I don't get it. But yeah.
It again, it's just a classic mistake. It's just the sin of omission. They don't even think about it, and I think that's a big issue. Guys, they're genuinely not thinking about it, and then the guys that know it's a good idea and don't do it are even worse because they're just too prideful. They're too focused on being that guy who's just so buttoned up and professional and perfect. Oh, I'm too good to call anyone out. The UFC does whatever they want. Like it's good for your career. You should do it. So I think it's
It's not
ridiculous.
even like
I
unclassy.
liked in the main event, Sandhagen called out Cheeto. I like that. He called out, he called out the champ as well.
Yeah.
Uh, I, honestly, I really, first of all, is Canelo and Triple G fighting tonight?
They are fighting tonight, but we would never have known that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Boxing's terrible at promotion.
Yeah, who would have known? Like this is a big fight. This is a huge fight. And I've hardly seen anything about it, truly. I've hardly seen it.
Well, let's get into the main event. I mean,
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that.
I thought that this fight was going to be a little bit higher pace. However,
Yeah.
I really like the game plan from Sandhagen.
Yeah.
I think that early on, I liked his his game plan to kind of tire out Song Yadong by, giving him a lot of looks with the takedowns, with the clinch. And, I think that was really him showing his experience. I think that he showed a lot of his, veteran experience in the cage, mixing it up. I mean, you haven't really seen Sandhagen in the past throwing that many takedowns. And I think that
it's a good plan.
I think DC mentioned it on commentary. He did tire out a little bit in that Petr Yan fight. He got a second wind in the 5th round. However, I think that he came out the gate really hot, guns blazing in the Petr Yan fight. And I think he took a slower approach this time. And, he didn't even have to get that finish. He didn't even have to get the big stoppage. He just relied on his crafty veteran skills to get through the fight, pick Song apart, not really overextend, not rush in, not try to, find the KO where, I mean, a lot of guys, they'll try to look for that KO and they just won't find it. I liked what I saw from Sandhagen. And again, he trusted his skills and it led him to that doctor stoppage. I mean, all he had to do was just, keep riding out the rest of the fight. And eventually, that cut was just inevitably going to end the fight. So I liked the showing from Sandhagen. However, I need to get this out of the way. So I liked what I saw from Sandhagen. Song Yadong gave him a tough fight. He didn't dominate Song Yadong. Like he definitely outclassed him, but he didn't finish him. He didn't beat the shit out of him. And granted, let me just say this. He did kind of finish him. I mean, I should take that back. He kind of finished him because it was a doctor stoppage. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I think in order for me to then go out of my way to say Sandhagen's going to go out there and beat Petr Yan or Sandhagen's going to go out there and beat Aljamain Sterling, I think I would like to see a little bit more in that fight. But that also could just be attributed to the fact that Song Yadong is improving rapidly and is actually really good.
Also,
he's got a lot of power. So I mean, listen, I if I were to rate his performance out of 10, I would give Sandhagen I'd give him an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I had Sandhagen up 3-2 on the scorecards regardless. So if it were to go to distance, I
3-2 or 3-1?
3-2. I had
3.
Wait.
There was no 5th round.
3-1. 3-1. I'm sorry.
3-1. I had it a similar way. Yeah, I had it pretty much the same.
3-1. I thought
Song won the first round.
Yeah, I thought he won the first round too, and then he wobbled him early on in the second round. The cut happened, and once the cut happened, he was kind of like, I thought it was the beginning of the end. And like I thought he was fighting a little bit more hesitant, and he had a couple nice like combinations and stuff as the fight went on, but he couldn't really string together much though altogether. And I mean, I thought it was pretty I thought it was impressive for Sandhagen. I like the game plan though. Like you said, the shooting for their takedowns wasn't necessarily to get the takedowns, but it was just to keep thinking and to open up the knee. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because if he keeps expecting the takedowns, the knee's gonna be wide open, and
right.
He
hit him with one knee. He missed a few, but he hit him with one.
Still, I mean, that's all you need. You need one great knee to finish the fight, So I like the game plan. And Song Yadong was like reacting to it like very much. You know what I'm saying? Like there were strong reactions. So he definitely worked. And yeah, so it was impressive. I would also probably give it a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I mean,
I guess he didn't just he didn't run away with any. I mean, what I mean by this is what I mean. He clearly and decisively won, 3 rounds, and he clearly and decisively won that fight. It was a doctor stoppage. I mean, he pretty much finished it. However, he didn't just, he didn't take it to him.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not a performance where you get like a big fight after. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great performance. You hold your spot in the division, but that's not going to move you up. Exactly. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. And what the TikTok I just posted was like, where do you go from here for Sandhagen? Because like,
you got to win one more.
You fight a top 10 guy. You fight the number 1 10th ranked guy. The fight was meant for a fight just to get back in. The confidence back, even though Song Yadong's a beast, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like you beat the number 10th ranked guy, you're not going up in the rankings, you know what I mean? You're kind of staying on the same. You're just getting a win under the belt.
Yeah.
Which is good still. But I don't know. I mean, like I feel like do you have him fight Jose Aldo or something? Dominic Cruz? Like is that one of those fights to make? Like I don't
I
know.
think Jose Aldo would be a decent fight. However, I think that he's a little bit past Aldo. I mean, think about it like this: Merab Dvalishvili beat Jose Aldo. He's about one win away from a title shot, but Jose Aldo's coming off of a loss against a guy who still hasn't earned
Yes.
a title
Yeah,
shot.
yeah. So
I
he's
feel like
not
Sandhagen deserves a number one contender fight. I think him and Cheeto. I think him and Cheeto is the fight to make, man. Because here's the thing, you know,
I think he's one fight
if
away.
Piotr Jan does what we all think he's going to do and goes out there and beats Sean O'Malley, he's one win away. But that's in October. That's a month from now. I think that I don't think that the UFC is going to want to book Piotr Jan and Sandhagen too. That's
No.
the kind of thing they'll do for a title shot. I don't think they're going to do Piotr Jan and Cheeto. I think the fight that makes the most sense is Sandhagen and Cheeto Vera because listen, Merab Dvalishvili, I don't even know if he doesn't want to fight Aljo. He keeps saying he doesn't want to fight Aljo. I'd like to see Cheeto Sandhagen. I think that's the one to make because they're both one fight away from a title shot. And, I mean, listen, if O'Malley beats Jan, of course, we'll probably see O'Malley get a title shot.
Rightfully so, though, you know.
Rightfully so, of course. However, I don't see that happening. I'd love to see O'Malley Cheeto, but that's the thing that's kind of weird about it. I'd rather see O'Malley fight Cheeto than O'Malley fight, Aljamain, because I think
Really?
Aljamain smokes Sean O'Malley. I think
That's
I
interesting.
mean, like, yeah, just a hot take on O'Malley. I really think he gets smoked by a few of these guys at the top of the division. Listen, a fight with him and Sandhagen would be good. I'd still pick Sandhagen.
Yeah,
Sandhagen to me
I
is
would.
like a tougher version of Sean O'Malley who's got more experience, which is why I'd give him the win.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then, Piotr Jan is Piotr Jan. I still think he's, right. He's the best in the division aside from Aljo. And Aljamain Sterling is a good striker. He has good enough striking to stand up with guys, but I just, I could just see him just easily just taking out Sean O'Malley, just submitting him, bro, or
Yeah.
just dominating him with the wrestling. I don't think Sean O'Malley stands a chance against Funk Master. And you know what? Here's the thing. A lot of people are saying maybe it's that height and that length that's going to give Piotr Jan issues with Sean O'Malley.
I don't
Piotr
think,
Jan beat up Corey Sandhagen.
yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
And Sandhagen, I think is just better. He's a tough guy. I mean, no one's breaking that guy
He's
mentally.
quicker
Sean
too.
O'Malley is not known for being this gritty, ice cold through his veins. He's the guy who's like he's gonna get that KO. He's gonna get his way, and if it doesn't go his way, I just kind of get that idea that he's just gonna be the guy to wilt as soon as it gets really tough. I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
maybe I'm. I'd love for
yeah,
him to prove me wrong, bro.
yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think he's a super talented guy. I
Yeah.
just think I agree with you. I think he doesn't seem like he has the grit. Like I can't see him being in this 5 round war with tons of blood. You know what I'm saying? Like I just
Yeah.
can't see that. So I think he's a super talented fighter. I think he's got great striking, pretty good jujitsu as from what we've heard. I mean, we haven't really seen it much. So I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's a very skilled fighter, got a lot of potential. But I think if anybody brings it to him, I think he's gonna fold. I really do, and especially a guy like Corey Sandhagen, who's got no quit in him. You know what I mean? And especially
Let,
5 rounds.
let me ask you, who do you think wins? Let me throw some matchups at you. Okay,
Yeah, let's
so
hear it.
Corey Sandhagen versus Corey Sandhagen rematch with the champ, Aljamain Sterling. How do you see that go?
Honestly, I think Corey Sandhagen beats him in a rematch.
Damn, really?
He does.
Holy shit. Okay.
Aljo had a spectacular finish in that fight.
Yeah.
Got on his back. I think Sandhagen's learned from that. I think he's gotten better since then. I don't think like that was one of those quick finishes that just he got in a submission when he wasn't sweaty or anything, when there was no blood. And I think if O'Malley struggles, no, if Aljo struggles at all with getting him down, I don't think he's gonna be able to strike with him. I think Sandhagen's too creative for a Funk Master. So I would honestly probably pick. I would probably pick Sandhagen, but I want to see how O'Malley does against Dillashaw. I think that's a real test for him. But again, we haven't seen Dillashaw fight in years, so he could be a lot worse. But I still would want to see that fight, see how he looks. But from what I've seen, I think Sandhagen would win that fight. I do. What do you think?
I take Aljo all day. And
Okay.
I would rather Sandhagen win I'm a fan of Sandhagen. Listen, I don't mind Aljamain Sterling. I just would rather Corey win. It would be cool to see him finally get the championship belt. I mean, he's like, in my opinion, the best fighter in that division to not have a belt. And, the reason I'd pick Aljamain Sterling is because there are two reasons. Number one, I think that the rematch with Petr Yan proved to me that Aljamain Sterling is really that dangerous when it comes to taking guys back. And we saw him choke out Sandhagen. Yeah. And, that's obviously his bread and butter. That's what he goes to. That's his, most likely way to win a fight is by taking your back and submitting you. And I didn't think he had the ability to do that to Petr Yan for 2 rounds. And I think if anyone else was in that position that Petr Yan was in for 2 rounds, I think everyone gets finished in that position. And when I see a guy like Corey Sandhagen, sure. I mean, listen, he has decent grappling. He has decent submission skills, but he's not as compact. He's not as explosive and strong.
Does have the length.
He's got length, but he's already been choked out by him. And when I see Petr Yan, Petr Yan's like built like a brick shit house. He's like a compact, strong guy. I would think that's the kind of guy who's going to keep Aljo off of him. And he did in the later rounds. I think that Sandhagen's Achilles heel is that wrestling. And I know I'm not basing this off of the fact that he didn't get a lot of takedowns. But one thing I did see is, let's be honest, I know he was shooting the takedowns to basically tire out Song Yadong. He didn't really necessarily need those takedowns. However, if he could have got them, he would have got them. Yeah. And I just think that Sandhagen's an amazing striker. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's got finishing power. He can finish guys. I think wrestling is going to be his downfall. And I could see Aljamain Sterling, if he can take Petr Yan's back for 2 rounds, I think he takes Sandhagen's back at least once before if he can survive the striking at first. I think he takes his back and submits him. I just think he's too strong. Like Aljamain Sterling is probably the strongest guy in that division. And I just think that's where Sandhagen's lacking. It's not like Sandhagen's not strong. I just think Aljamain is his kryptonite. I think Aljamain's like the one guy who's got that one technique that's so perfected, and that just happens to be where Sandhagen lacks a little bit. Now, I guarantee you, Sandhagen's done everything in his power to make sure that will never happen again. And if he fought Aljamain Sterling, he would do everything in his power to make sure that wouldn't happen again. I could just see it happening, man. I don't know. I could see Sandhagen winning. I'd give Funkmaster 70% to win that one. However, I want to ask you now, Sandhagen, Petr Yan rematch.
I think Petr Yan.
I do too. That's the thing. I just think that Petr Yan's insurmountable. Like, what could Sandhagen do to beat him?
I think Petr Yan's the best in the division. I think he just didn't have his corner against Aljo, and I think if he had his corner, he would have won that fight. I do.
He almost did. Some people had him winning that fight.
Yeah, I didn't have him. I thought Aljo won the first
I thought Aljo,
I thought Aljo for sure won that round. Won the fight. But, he didn't have his corner. That makes a difference. I think his corner could have really helped him after that first round, calm down a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I think it could have really helped him. So I think if they were to fight again, which I don't know if they will, because it's a whole really weird situation with them too. But I think if they were to fight again, I think Petr Yan would win the fight for sure. And I think he should be the champion in that division. I think at some point that's his division in my opinion. So I think it's sooner than later.
I'd pick him to win against Aljo in the trilogy for sure. I still want to see the trilogy.
Yeah, I want to see the trilogy. I think there'd be a lot of hype for that. But I think with the terms of Sandhagen, Peter, I just like you said, I don't know what Sandhagen has to offer for Peter that he didn't already see. You know what I mean? Like,
he looked phenomenal in their fight. Like, he didn't look bad. He just
lost.
Petter's just that much better.
Yeah, so I don't really, especially in a 5-rounder. Like in a 3-rounder, maybe it'd be a little bit different. But I don't think he beats Peter.
What do you think? What do you think that boils down to? Do you think it boils down to more? Okay, so I think both of those guys are tough. I think they're both as tough as each other. Do you think it's more technical, is it just the power difference, or is it maybe just talent? Like, is Petr Yan?
The
Because
talent.
you think it's talent?
Yeah, I think it's talent. I mean, Petr Yan's so talented.
Yeah,
I also think he's just a better striker than Sandhagen.
yeah, he is.
I think the stuff that people fall for again for when they're fighting Sandhagen, Petr Yan just doesn't really fall for.
Yeah,
I think that's a lot of what Sandhagen, his success. It's a lot from his like his creativity. You know what I mean? And I think that's just stuff that Petr Yan just doesn't fall for. You know what I mean? Petr
yeah.
Yan's did it all. He one of the best boxers in UFC, if not the best boxer in UFC. I think he's the best boxer.
He's so fast, bro, with his
So
combination.
fast, like, and
when
he's also has
warmed
the
up.
power. He's got the
Yeah,
power.
he's got power too.
Like you have to worry about his power, and I think that's a big factor too. But I think ultimately, I think it's just that like he's the more talented fighter. I think that's what it boils down to. I do. I don't think he could. I don't think there's not really an edge Sandhagen has over him. You know what I'm saying? Besides the length and reach, but that clearly wasn't a problem. You know what I mean? So that's what I think it's boiled down to. But let me ask you something. You probably are going to ask this next, but Chito Vera versus Sandhagen. Who would you?
Yeah. This is the one I want to get to.
This is the one I'm curious. This is what I'm curious about. I actually have a prediction. Ooh, that's actually tough.
I think, and this is how I see it. I have to look at the guys that Cheeto is finished.
Yeah.
Like Dominic Cruz. Rob Font is an amazing fighter as well. However, it's interesting, man. He's getting better. He's got great cardio. He's big for the weight class too. I couldn't see Sandhagen finishing him.
No.
It's such a tough fight for me to pick. I think that I might, but the thing is, I don't know if Cheeto can land those shots that he was landing. I might pick Cheeto, bro.
I'd pick Sandhagen.
I could lean that way. I want to pick Sandhagen, but okay, this is what it is. I think that if I knew that it was going to go to a decision, 100%, I'd pick Sandhagen. If you were to told me that one of those that it ends by finish, and I don't know who it is, I don't think Cheeto's the one getting finished. No, I don't think Sandhagen's strong enough to take him down, submit him, and I also think that Cheeto's chin and his boxing defense is so good. I just don't see him getting finished. He's almost like unfinishable in my mind. That's why I have a hard time picking against him in a 5-rounder. In a 3-rounder, I'd go with Sandhagen. In a 5-round, I don't know, man. I could just see that KO coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, the reason I got Sandhagen is because I think he's got a really good chin.
He's got a good chin.
I think the other guys, like I think Dominic Cruz, is old. He's old. His chin is not there anymore. I think Rob Font's a beast, but he's no Sandhagen.
Yeah,
I think Chito Vera would really struggle against a guy who has power and who really fights with a lot of volume and who's not going to go away. You know what I'm saying? Like Sandhagen isn't really going to get finished. He took big punches from Petr Yan, didn't get finished. Cheeto may have more power, but I don't think it's a big amount of the difference. So I think Sandhagen also bloodies up his opponents. You know what I mean? Like Cheeto's been kind of easy to hit over his last few fights.
For sure.
So
the thing that makes Cheeto really tough is he what he does, he gets hit on his forehead a lot. Like he doesn't get hit on the chin. Like I've seen this breakdown. So the Weasel came out with a breakdown. It's all about his defense and how he always eats shots with his forehead and how that's like why he never has cuts and anything like that. Here's the thing. I think Sandhagen could win, but I could just see Cheeto head kick knocking him out or front kick knocking him out. Because those are the kinds of shots that it doesn't matter who you are, you're probably going out. Unless you're, the craziest chin. I would pick, I don't know who to pick. That's like 50-50 for me.
I just think the volume. I think a guy
who volume could be, yeah.
I think a guy who has a tough chin and who throws a lot of volume is gonna beat Chito Vera. I think that's what it is. He's not aggressive enough. Doesn't throw enough strikes. He doesn't. That's I think his biggest problem. And I think sooner than later it's gonna hurt him. You know what I mean? It hurt him in the Aldo fight. That's why he lost to Aldo, because he wasn't aggressive enough. So I think sooner than later it's gonna either be against Corey Sandhagen or Petr Yan. I don't think he could beat those guys. I don't. I think those guys have too much power for him. No, no, not too much power. I think those guys have too much volume and they have great chins too. So
Yeah.
I think I would pick Corey Sandhagen beating Chito Vera, and I'd also pick Peter Yan beating Chito Vera. So I mean, I don't know. I think there's the bantamweight division. There's a lot of different ways you can go with.
I think the bantamweight division, in my opinion, is the most entertaining division aside from maybe the lightweight division.
Maybe
I think
not.
both of those are my favorite divisions right now.
Yeah, I mean, those two divisions are definitely the best divisions. You know what I mean? And then there's welterweight. But yeah, no, I mean, I think either way.
But the issue with welterweight is they just don't fight each other, bro.
Yeah, Colby, it's all because of Colby Covington.
Colby Covington is the biggest. He honestly, he ruined the division. He's not gonna fight Khamzat. He'll never fight Khamzat.
Never. He's not gonna fight Burns. He doesn't take. He'll fight Joffney. That's who he'll fight.
Yeah, he'll fight Neil.
They have to be outside the top 5, and then he'll fight them. You know.
but there were some big 145-pound matchups. You know, and that Movsar Evloev and Bryce Mitchell.
Ooh, I'm excited for that fight.
That's a big fight. And then Arnold Allen and Calvin Kattar. So I feel like we should give our predictions for those.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Evloev, and I'm also going to go with Kattar.
Ooh, so you have that complete opposite of
opposite?
Me.
Ah,
I got Bryce Mitchell, and I got Arnold Allen. I think
let's hear
Arnold Allen's time. I think it's his time. I think
Okay.
it's time to take over the division, unless Volkanovski is still there. I think he's too talented for a guy like Calvin Kattar. I think Calvin Kattar is a really good fighter. I think he's a good fighter. I don't think he's elite. And I think Arnold Allen has the potential to be elite. I think Calvin Kattar's hittable. Arnold Allen's got a ton of power. And I can see him breaking him down and finishing him. I really can. And I think Calvin Kattar actually reminds me a bit of Rob Font, a pretty good boxer, you know.
They both train together.
Yeah, oh, really? I didn't ever knew that.
They're at the same camp. They
remind me exactly of each other, just different weight classes.
Yeah.
They both stick with the jab. They both kind of just throw a lot of 1-2s.
Yeah.
I think Arnold Allen is too talented for him. I do. I think it's Arnold Allen's time to take over the division. And I have the highest hopes for Arnold Allen. I think if Volkanovski leaves the division, I think Arnold Allen will be the next champion in the featherweight division. But in terms of Bryce Mitchell, I think that's an really even fight. I think it can go either way.
Who did Evloev? Evloev fought. I forgot who he fought last, but it was this summer. He fought. I remember.
Oh, he fought. What's his name?
Ige.
Ige. Yeah.
Ige. Yeah. So here's the thing. I really liked what I saw from Evloev in that Ige fight. And here's the thing. Evloev's got good wrestling. He's got good grappling. He's one of those Russian guys. Trains at American Top Team 2. A lot of good grapplers there. Bryce Mitchell, you know, his last fight with Edson Barboza knocked him down, which is impressive. None of us expected that, but I think Edson Barboza's, you know, not the same Edson Barboza that we're used to, but also he's always had that weak wrestling. He's always had the weak ground game. And here's the issue. On the feet, I'm going with Evloev all day. And on the ground, I'm going with Evloev's just good enough to not be on the ground. And that's how I see this going down. If it's a 3, I just think Evloev. I mean, listen, Mitchell's so good. I guess I'm just not sold enough on his striking, and I think Evloev's just the more well-rounded guy. Now, as far as the other fight, I'm going to pick Calvin Kattar for the same reason you're picking Sandhagen against Cheeto. I think he's a tough guy with a chin, great cardio, and 5-round experience. Well, Cheeto, you didn't say this about Cheeto, but he has 5-round experience too.
Yeah.
But a guy who is high volume with a really good chin, and then on top of that, got that 5-round experience and has proven, you know, that he belongs at the top of the division. I think that's going to be the difference. I could just see Calvin Kattar beating him up and schooling him. Now, here's the thing. I think that early on, it's a dangerous fight for Calvin. However, you know, Arnold Allen hasn't been known to be this guy who's finishing guys. Like, he's got power. He's really strong. He's explosive. His cardio tends to wane in the later rounds. And also, I'm looking at his last finish, and I just know that if it was Dan Hooker and Calvin Kattar, I really think Calvin Kattar would have finished Dan Hooker as well. And I think a lot of guys in the top 10 at featherweight would finish Dan Hooker as well. I think Bryce Mitchell would finish him. I think Evloev would finish him. I loved what I saw from him, but it's like how could you ding someone if they do what they're supposed to do? But I can't put that much stake into that fight, and I just think that it's a 5-rounder, and I don't see him putting away Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is so tough. Max Holloway, who's been able to finish guys like Aldo twice and Ortega, he didn't finish Calvin Kattar, and he put on one of the most impressive performances ever, and still didn't get him out of there. I know. Allen's got big power. I think Calvin Kattar is going to be on the lookout for those head kicks. So I'm going to go with Kattar. However, if Allen wins, I'm going to be surprised, and if he wins, that's big. That's really big, and he's still young. How old is he? I think he's on a 9-fight win streak.
28 years old. He's never lost in the UFC.
Damn. 28.
He's a dangerous guy, and I feel like it's his time. I think this guy is the real deal, Lucas. I think he's the real deal.
He's really good, man.
I think he's the real deal. This guy's. I think he's got ridiculous power. I think.
How do you? Okay, let's say he knocks him out. Do you see him beating Volk? I don't see him beating Volk, bro.
No, but I don't think he's gonna. I think the thing about Volk. I think if Volk wins the belt at 55, he's never going back to 45. So
if he wins at 55, he said he's going to go back and defend that.
Everyone 45. Says that, but once you get the belt at 55,
you don't want to cut all that weight.
You don't want to cut that weight anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he's saying that now, but if he wins the belt at 55, he's never going back.
Volk at 155 is still the biggest mystery for me, because some guys, when I think about the moving up, I think, Khamzat Chimaev moves up. I think he does really well. Yeah. Hell, I think Kamaru Usman does all right at middleweight. Maybe not that well, but
he'll do all right.
Yeah, he'll do all right. Yeah. Charles Oliveira, I think he'd do well at 170. I think there are guys 135 that do well, but Volkanovski, I don't know. 155 still really good. But I see guys like Charles move up and have success, Dustin move up, Connor move up and have success. So I don't think it's unlikely that he would get better, but I don't know. So it's a big mystery to me, because if he is better at 155, I don't think anyone beats him.
Yeah, I mean, also I think that's a very tough division at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you got guys like Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler. All those guys are very, very good, and all those guys, you can make an argument, could be a champion in other divisions. Like Dustin Poirier, man, like most divisions, he'd be the champion. So like, it's a very tough division. I think right now it's maybe a harder time to move up than when Connor moved up, and when
could be true.
But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because he's definitely gonna have the speed advantage over these guys.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got the speed advantage over a guy like Max Holloway, who nobody has speed advantages over.
Yeah.
So I think his speed would be scary at 55. It's just, would he be able to handle the power and wrestling? I don't know. I don't know if he can handle Islam Makhachev's takedowns. I don't.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like,
I don't know if he can handle Charles Oliveira's power.
I think he could. I think he could handle some grappling, because like we saw him with Ortega, but Ortega's not as big as those guys.
I think that's the biggest question. It's the power. Would he be able to handle the power, and would he be able to grappling? Because he's gonna have to speed over these guys. He's better strikers than these guys. You know what I mean? Maybe not Poirier, but everybody else, he's a better.
I think he smokes Poirier on the feet, dude. I think I don't think anyone on the feet fucks with Volk at 155. Like, I don't see it. I think the one thing that I don't know about is, of course, power is a big difference. So he could get knocked out, but grappling, I think that's the big question for me, is like, can he keep guys off of him? And if he can, I think he's unstoppable. But again, GOAT potential, man. I'm really high on Volk. I'm really high on him, man. I think he could be that. How old is Volk?
34 or 30.
Okay, he's got to make a move now. He's got to start now, because those guys are getting. 33. Those guys 33. Are still. Those are young.
He's 33, but he's not an old 33. You know what I mean?
He's not an old 33. Honestly, 33. Fuck, man. I think he should just stay at 145 and just get 5 more title defenses and become the GOAT.
The dude is a competitor. He wants to challenge himself. I don't think the 45 contenders are really like do any like threat. Like, I don't think they like get him up in the morning. You know what I mean? So I think at that point, when you have that much success, it has to be what gets you up in the morning, what gets you working. And I think moving up to 55 would really.
Who would you rather see Volk face? Well, I mean, this is obvious. I think we both rather see Volk face Charles Oliveira than Makhachev.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a ridiculous fight.
Hot take, bro. I mean, this is not really a hot take, but like, listen, I like Islam Makhachev. I like seeing him fight. I'm not gonna lie. I am someone who loves to see him fight. However, let's be honest, he's not that entertaining, bro. Like, there's so many other guys I'd rather watch than Islam Makhachev. So if you give me Islam Makhachev and this guy, or the only matchup I'd rather see when it comes to Islam Makhachev or someone else, I'd rather see Islam versus Charles than anyone else. But outside of that, once that's done, I'd rather see Volk versus like anyone else than Islam versus anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, also Michael Chandler a little. I would kind of want to see Islam versus Michael Chandler.
Islam versus Chandler would be sick.
That would be interesting to see.
I don't think Islam would take him down so easily.
But then he would lose the fight probably.
Then Chandler could gas though.
Yeah,
Chandler gasses, man. Let's talk Poirier Chandler. I'm picking Poirier to knock him out.
To knock him out.
I'm picking Poirier to here's the thing.
Rounder.
Chandler got like technically outstruck by Gaethje, and Gaethje's good. Gaethje's a good striker. I just think that Poirier is a much better striker than Gaethje, and Poirier's got decent power. He hits hard. I mean, we saw him crack Oliveira. We saw him knock Connor out. We've seen him
crack
beat Max like badly. I think that Chandler's just too. I think he's like the Paulo Costa I think he's like the Paulo Costa to Poirier's, Israel Adesanya. I think that's kind of what it's going to look like. I think Chandler is just going to swing and miss. I think that's it. I think Poirier's got such good boxing. I think he's just going to light him up and finish him. I'm going to go with Poirier, and I'm going to go with Poirier. I'm going to go with Poirier third round knockout. I think he knocks him out, bro. I think he's really going to knock him out. I just don't see, or second round. I'll go with Poirier second round knockout. Poirier is still really good, man. I think Chandler overextends. He leaves himself open all the time. Chandler doesn't have a great chin. He's been finished. I think Poirier is so much better of a boxer. And, if Chandler uses his wrestling and that's it, I think he could win this fight. I just don't see him doing that. Is it 5 rounds or 3 rounds?
3 rounds.
Yeah, I see Poirier winning. I don't think Chandler's gonna wrestle.
I think Poirier's gonna win by decision.
I could see that too. I could see that too.
I think he's gonna beat the shit out of him though.
I think he's gonna beat him up. Yeah, you think? Okay, so you think it's the boxing?
I think he's just way better than it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think he's better.
Like those guys, Poirier even said it. If McGregor or him fought against Gaethje or Chandler after seeing their fight, they would have for sure smoked them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, their fight wasn't like, it was great. It was entertaining.
It was not a skilled striking match by any means. It was a brawl. It was a fight of the year brawl. But none of those guys looked good in my opinion. Like I don't think after that Gaethje win, I'm not saying Gaethje looked impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think both those guys looked real bad. Those guys looked very hittable. And I think they are very hittable. And I think Dustin Poirier is not that hittable. Like he's a really good boxer. He's got good defense. Like he's got a good chin too. He took some big shots from Connor in the second fight.
I just want to say this. I think Justin Gaethje I think he's overrated, dude. Big time.
I agree.
He beat Tony Ferguson. Listen, and I just want to say this again. Tony Ferguson, ever since the Cowboy fight, was significantly declining. I've said he had started declining then. In the Gaethje fight, that was not like, I think you put Tony Ferguson that fought Justin Gaethje up against anyone else in the top 5 at the time, I think he would lose. I don't think Tony Ferguson, the guy that fought Justin Gaethje in 2019, I think that was a significantly declined Tony. I don't think that was the beginning of the decline. I thought that was probably the middle. I think the Tony we've been seeing now is like the retirement home Tony. The Tony that we saw against Charles Oliveira when he was really dipping, that was the senior citizen Tony. And then the Tony that we saw against Justin Gaethje was the, hey man, like maybe it's time to hang up the gloves going into that fight.
Yeah.
So
I even
I
saw it
think, and that's his biggest win. Think about it. Then it's Michael Chandler, which is a good win. I'm not going to lie. I mean, Michael Chandler beating him is hard. I just think he's a little overrated. His wins, his resume is not that great. James Vick, sure, Edson Barboza. Maybe I'm digging too much into this.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. He's not a skilled fighter. Got a lot of power. He's a maniac. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, he's hard. I mean, he's a beast, bro. Of course.
He's got a good chin. I mean,
yeah.
I think anybody who's
I think he loses to all the guys like
that are good
boxers,
that are good strikers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think good strikers like school him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they completely school him. I think they finish him. He's too hittable. He's really too hittable. And I think if he goes against a guy who really knows how to place his punches properly, they're gonna finish him. Like just like a Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier finished him. I think a Conor McGregor finishes Gaethje. And I think a Fiziev finishes Gaethje. So I think those guys, that level, the Chandler Gaethje, I think they can only beat certain kinds of fighters, if that makes any sense. They can't beat these great strikers. So that's why I think I got Poirier over Chandler. I think he's going to beat the shit out of him. I don't know if he's going to get finished because he's a 3-rounder.
Yeah.
As Poirier, as you know, he drags it in deep. Deep waters. He gets his finishes late, a lot of the times, 4th or 5th round, and there's no 4th or 5th round. So I think he's going to win 3-0 in terms of I think it's gonna be a decision.
I could see that. I think Poirier. I still see. I just think. Honestly, I think Poirier's power has increased a little bit over the years because he knocked out Conor. He dropped Oliveira a few times. Dan Hooker. I think he's big for the weight class too. And in that Conor trilogy, no one really talks about that fight, but he looked like he had some big power in that trilogy with Conor. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Poirier. I think first of all, both guys are some of the most entertaining fighters. I have to put both of them in my top 10 easily most entertaining fighters in the UFC.
5,
Poirier, yeah, Chandler, Poirier, both guys deliver every time. Poirier is underrated, like as far as being entertaining. I mean, everyone knows he's entertaining, but all of his fights are amazing. So I can't wait to see it. Yeah, I give Poirier like an 80% chance to really school Michael Chandler, and Chandler always has that chance to win. But yeah, he beat Tony Ferguson last time.
Give him a 90% chance.
Yeah,
I just don't see the finish coming. I think he's gonna really beat the shit out of Michael Chandler, but yeah. I think Chandler is going to hold in there in terms of not getting finished, but he's going to be schooled.
And so let's talk most entertaining in each division.
Let's do it. All right, you want to start with the 125?
I'm going to say Figgy, but I know you've said Kai Kara-France. I think both of them are great. Kai Kara-France always puts on sick fights.
Always, even if he loses. So I'm gonna go Kai Kara-France. I think I posted a video on it. I think he always puts on a show, got tons of power, great boxing. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more else to say about it. He's just super entertaining fighter. But Figgy too, he's got a lot of power also. Great boxer too. So I mean, either of those answers I'd be cool with. Brandon Moreno is pretty entertaining also.
He's very entertaining, yeah.
But I would say these other guys are a little bit more
because
of the power, I would say.
Yeah.
The power's a bit more entertaining. Brandon Moreno doesn't really have that kind of power like those two guys. But all three of those guys are very entertaining. Yeah, and I wouldn't have a problem with if anybody says either of those guys. But I think in 35 is where I mean, would you say Peter Yan? Like,
I'd say Peter Yan or Sandhagen, but probably Peter Yan in general because I just prefer to watch him fight. I think I just like watching him fight more. Sandhagen's great, but I think Peter Yan has a little bit more finishing ability, so I go Peter.
Peter Yan. I think Cheeto Vera is interesting, entertaining.
He's interesting. He's entertaining.
I think Dillashaw's entertaining too. I think there's a lot of entertaining guys at 35, and I like Aljo. We're big Aljo fans here, but he's not the most entertaining fighter. I'm gonna be honest with you. Marab isn't very entertaining at all. Aldo, not anymore really. So I mean, I would probably say it's Peter Yan, but I think Sandhagen is a close second, and maybe Dillashaw a close third. But we haven't seen Dillashaw in years, so I don't know. What about 45?
45, I'm gonna go with Honestly, I might have to go with Max. I mean, even when he loses like to Volk, I still honestly like it's so tough because I think it's just Max and Volk. Both of them are really entertaining. I give Max the edge a little bit, but recently, Volkanovski Ortega, Volkanovski Korean Zombie, Volkanovski Max 2 and 3. Like he hasn't had a single boring fight. So I'd say both of those guys.
Yeah, I would probably say Max just because I think his fighting style makes it
Yeah.
more like Volkanovski doesn't get hit much. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got great defense. He's super.
He's entertaining when he like outclasses people or something
Yes,
like
but at
that.
the same time, he's not gonna really do anything to where you're like he's gonna like shot like he's gonna like amaze people by his class, like you said, like
Yeah.
getting the win. But he's not really gonna do like some crazy stuff like Max can do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm gonna have to say Max Holloway. He's always in a war. Every single Max Holloway's in a
Yeah.
war. Max Holloway fights in a war. He's got
Which
some
is good and bad because it's
good,
bad for his
bad for
future,
his
but it's good
career.
for the fans.
Just like think of this, like Max Holloway versus Brian Ortega. Very entertaining in terms of, I mean, not entertaining for Brian Ortega, but like it was
Yeah.
entertaining in terms of Max. Max versus Calvin Kattar, super entertaining. Max versus Jose Aldo, both times, super entertaining. You know what I'm saying?
Yair
Max,
Rodriguez.
all three of those fights were super entertaining. Yair Rodriguez, that was arguably one of the best fights of the year. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
not the best fight of the year. Max, every single Max fight has been entertaining since he got in UFC. So I'm gonna say Max Holloway, but I get the Volk thing. I just think doesn't get hit enough to be that, and in terms of in that way. I feel like he just schools off his opponents, dominates them, which is really impressive, but it's not as entertaining as a Max Holloway war. You know what I mean? But I also think Arnold Allen's up there, but he still needs some more top top up contender wins, spectacular wins to beat.
I Arnold Allen, he's not that entertaining, man. He's got like so many decisions. I think you're putting too much stock into his win over Hooker, bro.
Dude,
His win over Hooker is decent, but like I just think anyone beats Hooker sucks, bro. Here's the thing. Colby Hooker went out there this week and said he was shitting on Colby Covington. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I did see that. That was stupid.
He was shitting on Colby. I was just thinking, bro, you're done. Like you're washed.
Colby,
you know what I mean?
Person, you'd smack the shit out of him.
Yeah, like, exactly. I mean, first of all, I think it's just bullshit. He's really salty. He's shit on Colby many times. I'm not a fan of Hooker, bro. People say like, oh, he's great. I'm not a big fan of the guy.
No, I'm not a big fan of him. He's boys with Izzy, which makes me even less of a fan of
him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, he seemed.
Oh my goodness, I saw Israel Adesanya rate. I saw an interview with him tonight, and it was at his gym, and it came out like 10 days ago. And this guy asked him, "What do you rate Pereira on the threat meter?" And he said 6 out of 10.
That's how you could tell he's just like insecure. You know,
it's in his head.
That's how you could tell, because like a real opponent, if you asked Alex Pereira that exact question,
he'd probably say like Israel's a 9 or a 10 or some shit.
Something like it just shows his insecurity. Like,
yeah,
he already beat him twice, so how could he beat a 6? You know what I mean? So like, I think it shows Israel Adesanya's insecurity. I think it shows that he's in his head. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's funny. But I think, did you see sorry to get off the topic of the most entertaining fighters, but have you seen Alex Pereira's training videos? And have you seen him doing the bow and arrow?
Yes, I have.
That dude is something else.
Yeah, he's a beast, bro.
He's a beast. He's a beast.
So 155, I think easily Charles,
Oliveira, sure. And Michael Chandler, and then Poirier.
Poirier, Charles.
Even Gaethje.
Yeah, 155's got too many options, bro.
We'd have to say Charles just because
he's the champ.
Yeah.
170 is Chimaev. Easily.
Best fighter in the UFC.
Yeah.
You know?
185, I'm gonna go to Whitaker.
Whitaker, I would agree with you on Whitaker. Then Paulo Costa.
It's crazy because I may have said Israel Adesanya back in the day, like at one time.
Most boring.
Probably not. Not even. He's not. I don't think I ever would have said that. But
No.
Costa's all right. I think Whitaker's never in a bad fight.
Yeah, Whitaker's never, like Sam Alvey said last
The worst fight he's been in is the Israel Adesanya fight, but even he tried to make it decent.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault. 205.
Oh, Yuri, bro.
Yuri by a
Yuri all
mile.
easily.
Yuri by a mile.
Yeah.
Heavyweight. I'm gonna say Ciryl Gane.
Honestly, I'd say
Tuivasa.
Ciryl Gane is really entertaining. I'd say him and Francis is
I
still
can't
really
say
entertaining.
Francis though because that Derek Lewis fight.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
say
true.
Francis.
Honestly, yeah, man. Francis is entertaining, but like 10-second knockouts are great. They're entertaining, but they're also a little bit of like they're not. You know what's really entertaining to me? A knockdown, back and forth a little bit. There's none like Francis when he's entertaining is just a knockout. So otherwise he's shit. If Francis doesn't get the knockout, his fights are not good.
He was boring against Ciryl Gane when they fought. You know what I mean? And that was him. I mean, I would say also Ciryl Gane kind of had to fight that way against Francis, but I'm gonna say Ciryl Gane, and I think second would be Tai Tuivasa.
Oh, Tuivasa, yeah, I forgot about it. He's definitely up there.
But you want to go over most boring fighters in each division?
Oh man,
25, I don't have one. I'm gonna just say that right now. 25.
I'm gonna just go with the top dogs. Is it's hard to pick the most boring in each division, but if I had to say like if some stand out, I would definitely say like some heavy grapplers because there's so many guys that aren't in the rankings that are just super boring.
Yeah.
But I would say the guys that stand out to me, like, someone like Islam Makhachev can be very boring. I would say for 170, like a Neil Magny is super boring for me to watch, or Sean Brady, obviously. And, then I would say Israel Adesanya is just so hard to watch.
And then 205, Magomed Ankalaev, heavyweight. I mean, who's that most boring? I mean, there isn't much boring heavyweights, honestly. Yeah, but in terms of 35, I think Merab is very boring.
Merab's pretty boring.
I love Aljo, but I think Aljo is kind of boring too at times.
Now that he's champ, he's kind of taking the Israel Adesanya approach.
Yeah, which I don't blame these guys for. We can't support it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't be fans of these guys for, you know what I'm saying? Like, we just can't. Would we do the same thing? Probably, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I can't promote, like, I can't like be like, I love this, you know what I mean? Good job, like, I can't do that. But would we do the same thing if we were champs?
Yeah.
Of course.
So wait, let's talk about Tony though. Tony going off on DC. What did you think about that? Listen, I'm gonna be real. So DC said, Tony, it's time to retire. He was just saying this on a broadcast. It wasn't actually to Tony. And of course, Tony Ferguson, the fighter who's like, massive ego, his whole, last 10, 20 years of his entire career has been, he's the center of his life. Everything revolves around him. He's always like the shit. He's the guy everyone thinks like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And now he's got that midlife crisis. He's no longer the same guy. He's everyone's telling him to retire. He's old. He's got to find something new in life. And DC is just speaking the truth. He's just saying what anyone in their right mind would say. Also, anyone who respects Tony or likes him or is friends with him should say the same thing. You should retire. You're only going to get more damage. And, Tony Ferguson responded by saying DC was hating on him. Tony's crazy. He's got a big ego. I don't really expect anything differently, but he's got to retire, man. He's got to retire.
Yeah, I think he's got to retire. And also, I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, his wife literally called the police.
Oh, yeah. That was scary. I heard the phone calls.
Yes, he was going crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine what he is now after getting knocked out.
And that was beat up he got beat up a little by Nate, too.
That was also before he fought Gaethje. That
was after he fought. I think that was after.
I'm pretty sure it was before. We'd have to check that, but regardless, like since then.
Oh, you're right. It was before.
Yeah. So just imagine what he's like now, like after getting.
But the thing is, what is he going to be like in 10 years?
That's the concerning thing, and I think he knows.
This guy could be like number one most wanted.
I think he knows that. I think he knows that, and I think that's why he's trying to like keep fighting. Because he thinks that this is his time, and then when he's 67, he probably won't be able to like function. You know what I'm saying? And
I think he needs to stop. Like,
it's
listen,
sad to see.
doing more is not going to be good for him. Like, you know what I mean? Tony Ferguson looked awful against Nate Diaz.
Looked slow. He looked
like
slow.
When I was first watching him, like, okay, Tony looking like he's gonna outskill Nate, but then third, fourth round, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, he's not building up at all. He's just not that. I thought he was slowly building in that fight, but he wasn't. He was just, that's how he looked. And he needs to stop. He went from being the best in the world at one time to like losing to Nate Diaz and getting submitted. I mean,
I think the thing about Nate Diaz though is the thing I was the most surprised about with that fight was how slow Tony was, because Nate Diaz
slow.
Like, he's not
fast, but he looked fast against Tony.
He looked fast against Tony. He looked way faster than Tony. He was beating him with every single exchange because of speed.
Yeah.
And because of Tony's lack of speed. And to see that is crazy. Because we didn't see that against Chandler. That's not what we saw in the first round. He still looks kind of quick at that point. But when he came this fight, I don't know if it was the weight. I don't know if it was the one being at 170. Probably not. I think he's lost it. He's lost his speed. His chin is not there anymore. He was getting wobbled by Nate Diaz, you know? And Nate Diaz doesn't really wobble people early on. He usually wobbles people later on in the fight, if he does wobble people. Yeah. So I think Tony needs to retire. He's lost 5 straight fights. What is he going to do now? Is he going to fight a guy like Joe Lazan? Like that's like the only fight that is a somewhat winnable fight for him. And I don't even think it's a winnable fight for him. So I think Tony needs to retire, but I don't think he's going to retire. And I think the UFC needs to cut him, because that's the only.
They have to cut him. I mean, it'd be criminal for them not to.
Because like I don't see Tony like going to a different organization after. I think when he's done with the UFC, I think he's going to retire. At least I hope. You know, so I think the UFC.
I hope he does, because I could see him doing some PFL thing.
What if he did bare knuckle, bro? I would.
I mean, listen, it's sad because maybe, you know, a big reason why some of these guys fight when they're not supposed to is because money, you know. So maybe, who knows? Maybe, I don't know how much funds he has. So I hope he retires.
It's definitely sad to see. I think Nate Diaz should retire too. You know what I mean? Like, I think both of those
Nate. I mean, listen, both of those guys should have retired a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, you're 37. What are you doing at fighting at 37? You know, you should be. Yeah, you should be like this is why I don't blame Khabib. I don't blame Khabib for. I mean, this is one of the reasons I don't blame Khabib for retiring early. You know, he's not gonna have that brain damage like these other guys.
Yeah,
he's gonna be able to like be with his kids. So if he has kids, like functioning, you know what I'm saying? So like, I know Tony's got kids, I believe.
I know Khabib has kids, but like, is he ever home?
Khabib?
I never see this dude just at home. Like, I know I'm not.
He's grinding. He's grinding
everything that he does, but I swear, Khabib is everywhere except for Dagestan, wherever he lives. I don't know where he lives officially.
He lives in San Jose.
Does he?
I feel like I heard that, or at least he lives in San Jose.
But the thing is, I literally have never. Khabib, I always see him like traveling, and he's always with guys like his team and training and all that stuff. And if he's not doing that, he's like in London doing some speech. Like, but I never. I know he doesn't show his family. I know it's the religious thing, but like, is he ever home? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what?
It's a funny
like the guy that's supposed to be the respectful father, but I've never seen him. I'm like, where's the wife at, bro?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
At least he's doing something after his career. Like, I just can't.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's busy. He's trying to rack up the cash.
I can't see busy. Tony Ferguson being able to function like that after his career. I just can't.
He's not going to. He's going to Harvard for a business degree.
But the only reason he probably got into that was because he's Tony Ferguson. Like,
oh boy, that's sick though. I mean, like, that's dope. Imagine that. Tony Ferguson being in your class or something. That'd be so dope.
No, but dude, also like, I just like, is he gonna remember the stuff he's learning? Like, I don't know. He's taking that much damage that it's concerning. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not hating on Tony Ferguson. I'm just concerned with his health, and I don't think the UFC should let him fight again. You know, I don't, because
I agree. I'm concerned for his health too.
He wants to fight. All these fighters want to fight. That's the hardest thing for a lot of fighters to do, is to know when to give to.
Yeah, because again, they're so used to that being their life that when they stop fighting, they're no longer like that's the world doesn't revolve around them anymore. They have to be the father now. They have to step in the background a little bit.
I don't know
They're
if
not the guy who gets in front of the world on TV.
this reminded me of something that happened with, I think it was with Tito Ortiz or Chuck Liddell. Is one of them they talked about, like, when you stop fighting, it could be depressing for you, and that's when they go to drugs and all that to try to get that high that you felt when you're fighting.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of fighters face, and it's so sad to see.
It is sad.
Like,
CT is a
fighting,
real thing, man. That's
fighting,
why that's honestly why I'm not. That's why I stopped. Because the reason why I stopped like really training in Muay Thai and like considering fighting was because I had a wisdom tooth surgery. I got my wisdom teeth pulled, and every time I go into spar, this side of my face would blow up. I'd get so much scar tissue, it would blow up, and I'd have to take weeks off. And ultimately, I said to myself, first of all, every time I get hit, this is what I'm gonna have to deal with. I'm gonna have to deal with like getting a massive bubble on one side of my face. And then like I remember going to sparring sometimes to I'm like, do I really want to I'm just gonna be getting hit more the better with the guys that I'm dealing with. I don't want to do this. I don't want brain damage. I mean, being a fighter would be cool, but ultimately that's what guys who for example, if you're Bo Nickal and you're the shit in wrestling, and you're the best wrestler on the planet or whatever, it's easier transition to get into fighting. But for someone who doesn't have that extensive background in a grappling sport or a striking sport from their childhood, it's just, I don't understand how people do it, because there's just like, it's brain damage, tons of brain damage. And I just didn't want to deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, I boxed for a bit also. And I think like same thing, like you like, messes you up. It messes you up.
It does.
It's something you can't go back on, like you once you become a fighter, you're kind of accepting that, you kind of accepting that maybe you won't when you're 70, you're not gonna like remember stuff anymore.
60 could be 60. But the thing is, some of these guys in their 50s are gonna be like in pain, like depressed, on drugs. I mean, it's bad. Conor, I mean, I already get the idea that Conor's a little like messed up in the head.
I think Conor is one of the guys who is not, just because I think Conor hasn't been in as many fights as these other guys. Conor's, I think,
been in a war with Nate Diaz. He got knocked out by Poirier. He's gotten hit a few times.
But compared to guys like Tony Ferguson.
Well, that's a different level.
Justin Gaethje or Nate Diaz.
Those guys are different levels. Nate Diaz is already gone. He's already gone. He's just smoking weed to medicate. But
I don't know.
Speaking,
like how is that guy gonna do that? I know he's trying to do like a league or something.
He'll have someone else.
That's
thing. He'll just be the face.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about. We mentioned Khabib. Khabib was saying Charles Oliveira won't show up to Abu Dhabi. First of all, I think that was Ali Abdelaziz
tweeting.
But here's the thing. If that is Ali Abdelaziz, why is Khabib letting him like use his Twitter account? Especially when you're this like guy that's all about respect and integrity. I mean, you shouldn't have that unprofessionalism on your behalf on your Twitter account. And I think they're trying to get in his head. Listen, it's not a disrespectful. I mean, it's a little bit of trash talk, but I thought Khabib is not the guy to do that. What's going on? I think he's a little bit of a hypocrite. But I think they're trying to get in his head. They're trying to do anything to get in his head, but I think that's a bad idea. I think Charles Oliveira got really pissed off when he missed weight and the athletic commission fucked him over, and he came out looking better than ever. I think I don't think it's a good idea to get in his head. I think if Islam wants to get the best chance of winning, he should shut his mouth all the way up until the fight.
It's not even Islam though. It's not even.
But Islam's gotten on interviews, and Islam has tweeted. He tweeted first round warm up, second round.
Oh, he did tweet that.
Yeah, and then on an interview with DC, he's like, it's going to be easy and all this stuff. Like, they're trying to get in his head a little bit, and I think it's not going to go well for.
I can see this backfiring like crazy.
Bro, Islam is not as tough as Khabib. He's not the same guy mentally. Khabib is a one in a lifetime person. Like, people like Khabib don't really come around more than once a generation. Islam's just his training partner. Like,
He's
It's
just
a different guy. He's not as stone cold. He's not as tough. He's not as talented. He's gonna get finished
Yeah, I agree.
in the first round.
First
He's
round.
gonna get knocked out.
No,
Not gonna be close, guys.
they're setting themselves up right here. Honestly,
They're setting themselves up. I mean, like, listen, both of us have picked Charles Oliveira to knock him out.
I think
it's
it's a 90% chance. I think it's a 90% chance that he knocks him out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Honestly, I mean 95% chance. Honestly,
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm really liking it. If Charles was a bigger underdog, I would bet on him for sure. But the odds are coming close, and people have their sense together. I was watching the Fighters Predict video on James Lynch's channel, and I posted a TikTok, and it was 24 picks for Oliveira, like 2 for Makhachev or something. By the end of that video, it was like 40 picks, 42 picks for Oliveira and 4 for Makhachev. These are all like UFC fighters.
I think people are turning. I think it's changing. You know what I mean?
I just don't listen. If Oliveira, I think Oliveira's. He seems like the favorite. I mean, I honestly don't see many people aside from guys with Muhammad in their first name and the username that are picking Islam. There's a couple. James Krause picked Islam. There's a few people. Of course, the Weighing In podcast with Josh. And Big John McCarthy. I think McCarthy's going with Oliveira, but DC's teammate Josh is going with Islam, of course, because he trained with Islam. But
makes sense.
The only people that are really picking Islam are guys that have that are maybe Muslim or something. I mean, that's understandable. You're riding with your guy, and I understand that, but I think he's gonna lose. And I honestly listen. He's not Khabib, and people are starting to realize that the closer we get to this fight. I wish the fight would come closer, would come sooner, because until then, we have nothing but dog shit.
Shitty fights.
Awful UFC fight nights. The UFC needs to stop with
UFC
this.
needs to step this up. They need to step it up.
Ridiculous.
I think one more thing on the Charles versus Islam that I want to talk about the UFC and what they're doing wrong. But yeah, I think as the fight comes sooner, I think more people are realizing like Islam Makhachev is not Khabib.
No.
And the only reason why people thought he was going to beat Charles was because they think he's like Khabib. Khabib, like you said, he's a once-in-a-generation man. Not just a fighter, he's a man.
Yeah.
And there's no way there's 2 of those guys. There's just no way. That doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So I don't think Islam is a bad fighter. I think he's definitely one of the best fighters in the division. But Charles Oliveira is better. He's something else. He's ice cold. Since his win streak, nobody's seemed to like have like a real chance against him. I know they dropped.
He's finishing
everybody in the first 3 rounds. He's not going to decisions. Khabib never did stuff like this. I know Khabib a little bit more careful with his grappling and stuff. But if Khabib wanted to, he would submit these guys in the first round. If he wanted to, sorry. If Khabib could, he would submit these guys in the first round. There's no way he wouldn't. There's no way Khabib wants to go to the 3rd round. He wants to go to the 4th round. He wants to submit these guys. He's just not on Charles' level of grappling. He's just not. I know he's a great wrestler. I know he can take people down. But Charles's submissions, his grappling, his jiu-jitsu, it's on a different level than anybody we've ever seen. He's got the most submissions in UFC history. What says that like when Islam takes Charles down, Charles is just going to throw up a submission and submit him? What says that? He won't. You know what I'm saying? Especially if we're thinking that a lot of the fight's going to be on the ground. You don't think one of those submissions is going to come? You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Yeah, I don't think Islam has a chance. I think, of course, he has a chance, but it's so unlikely. It's so unlikely.
I think a lot would have to go right for him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
he would have to make sure that he just keeps Charles in the same position on the ground and lays on him.
I think there's 3 or 4 different things would have to go right for him. I think he would have to be able to take Charles down with ease. That's the first thing.
He may not.
Yeah, exactly. He'd have to be able to take Charles down with ease. The second thing was he'd have to be able to control him on the ground without Charles throwing up some submissions. And the other thing is like
keep him there. That's all. He also has to see if he can keep him on the ground too, because Charles could get back up.
Biggest things, because if it stays on the feet, Charles is going to smoke him.
Yeah,
If
easily.
Islam struggles to keep Charles down, stabilized, Charles will throw up a submission and submit him.
Yeah.
So I just see so many more ways that Charles could win this fight than Islam. And I always back the guy who has more ways of winning. I always do. That's my rule in terms of UFC. I always back the guy who has more ways of winning. That's how I do it. So I'm going to be backing Charles Oliveira. That's what it goes down to.
I think you're right. Like for every one way Islam can win, Charles has 9 more ways he can win. Like
that's why
and Islam really only has two. He only has one path to victory, and that's the ground game. And I don't see him having success there. I just don't. Listen, he's gone to the ground with guys who are decent on the ground. No one who is as good as Charles on the ground, and he hasn't dominated anyone. The only guys who he's dominated on the ground are guys that have awful ground game, like Dan Hooker, like what's his name, Bobby Green. Like these guys don't have submission grappling.
Those guys weren't preparing months for him.
And also, even on top of that, Bobby Green had a 1 week. He didn't even have a camp. He competed the week before, binged on food, fought like a 3-round fight where he was getting punched and kicked. And a week later,
focus on the
fights
weight cut.
Makhachev.
You have to focus on the
weight cut. Like he had no chance in that fight. And Dan Hooker.
But I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like it's not gonna go well for him.
I can't see it going well. I think too much has to go right for him to win this fight.
I can't wait for that. That's probably my most anticipated fight of all time, aside from Conor and Khabib.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I can't outside of Khabib, Conor, before this, what was your most anticipated fight of? Honestly, for me, Yoel Romero and Israel Adesanya was really anticipated for me. It was so disappointing. But what other fights have you ever been like really excited for?
Other than Conor versus Khabib, I'm gonna be honest.
Colby and Usman won. I was really hyped to see.
I'm gonna be honest with you. There's 2 that stick out for me, and it's Colby Covington versus Usman 2, and Chimaev versus Burns. That fight,
Chimaev Burns was really hyped
to see the guy who everyone was hyping up for months.
Yeah.
The guy who got hit once in his first 4 UFC fights, fight a top 3 guy. That was probably my most anticipated fight I've ever watched, other than Conor versus Khabib. But then it's this fight, you know what I'm saying? Like this fight, I don't know if I think I may be more excited for this than Chimaev versus Burns. I think the day of the fight, the whole day, there's no way I'm not gonna be thinking about that the whole day. Even though this is a sick card, there's no way I'm not going to be thinking about that from the start of the card to the finish. You know what I'm saying? Like this fight is something that we've never seen before. We've never seen a fight like this before. There's the guy who's Charles Oliveira, the second to the GOAT of the division, whatever.
Yeah.
The guy right behind Khabib.
The underdog. Like he's always been the underdog.
Always been the underdog. Fighting the guy like Khabib, the guy who people say is the GOAT of the division. The anticipation is on another level, and October 29th, not 29th, 22nd can't come any sooner. It can't. I'm super excited for that. But before that,
I wish it was early October. Why'd they have to put it so far?
You know what the UFC does to make everything worse? Next week we don't even have a fight night.
And the 3 weeks after, I think we have 3 women's main events in a row.
We have 2 women's main events, and then we have the Charles fight.
Oh, that's closer than I thought.
Yeah. Wait. Hold on. We got to pull this up. But what are they?
Oh no, we have an October fight night.
Yeah, we have 2.
We have a men's October fight night.
What is it?
Let's see.
No, I don't think we do.
There's definitely one. Let's see. UFC fight night, Sandhagen.
We have the 15th. We have the first Saturday, October 1st, the 15th, and then we don't, because the 22nd is the week after.
Yeah.
So we have a week off, then we have 2 more fight nights, and then we have the 280.
When is the MSG card?
November 12th or November 6th. Let me see.
Oh, is it?
It's November 12th. Yeah.
That's what, maybe 3 weeks after?
Yeah, about just about. We
Yeah,
do have
Pereira Adesanya. Listen, I got to give Adesanya respect for fighting 3 times this year.
that's the one thing I have to give
That's
Adesanya.
the one, and he doesn't ever pull out and he doesn't miss weight. I do have to respect Adesanya for that. He does deliver fights. He doesn't deliver, but at least he shows up and
At least he shows up.
actually fights.
Yeah, and doesn't miss weight. But I
Yeah.
think the other thing, the more I was thinking about the Adesanya stuff, I think a lot of the reason his fights are boring has to do with his opponents too.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna say it now. I think some of it has to do with him, but I think the thing is you got to think of this. The guys he fights have way shorter of a reach than him.
Yeah.
So if they trying to get on the inside a lot of times, they're gonna get pieced up because Adesanya is gonna be a better kickboxer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Than anybody he fights besides Pereira, and these guys just have way shorter reaches. So they can't really take that many chances with him, or else they know that they're going to get finished. They see the Paulo Costa fight, and they know that if they reach in and do that more than a couple of
It's
cases,
just yeah.
they're going to get finished. And
It is their opponents, but like they have no chance unless they do that. They honestly, if I was Jared Cannonier, if I really wanted the belt, I would just go in and try to KO him. And if I was Cannonier, I would try to I would either get the KO or get KO'd. Like that's would be my game plan.
I think they fear that. I think
they do. I mean, naturally, of course.
And I think I mean, I'm not gonna be like go Adesanya or any of that.
His fights still suck.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be like a fan of him because he's doing what makes
money
for him to win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But again, like I can't cheer for him. You know what I mean? Like I can't like be like
it's a weird thing, man.
It's a weird thing because like I don't blame him for doing this because like that's gonna be his best method to win. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be his easiest method to win without taking any risks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But again, like I can't support it though. You know what I mean? I can't be like Adesanya is a super entertaining champion. I love Adesanya as a champion. I can't say that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when he fights Pereira, he's not going to be able to be boring. Pereira's got the same reach, similar reach than him.
Yeah.
He's just as good of a
I can't wait for that fight.
This is not going to be a boring fight. This is not going to be a boring Adesanya fight. I can't see it being a boring Adesanya fight. He's going to get hit. He's going to get hit. He's going to face adversity. And we have to see how he does against adversity. And I don't even know if it's just that. Like Pereira's got he's got the X factor here.
Yeah.
He's got the left hook.
He does.
He couldn't take it in their kickboxing fight that was with 10-ounce gloves or whatever. Will he take it with the 4-ounce gloves? I think not, but we'll see. We'll see, you know? So I think that's what's very entertaining. I think it's going to be a good fight. I do. I think that's going to be Adesanya's best title fight of his career thus far.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about Khamzat Chimaev because I feel like with Sam, we had Sam Alvey interview, then we talked a little bit about him after. We talked a little bit about him in the interview. But I wanted to talk more about him. I wanted to talk about his Kevin Holland thing a little bit. I want to talk about his next moves because Khamzat Chimaev is right now the biggest star in the UFC.
Oh yeah.
I think we need to like talk a bit more about him, you know? So I
for sure
talking about Khamzat Chimaev. And I think there's a lot to say about Khamzat Chimaev. So his coach said likely his next fight will be at they're looking at a fight at middleweight before the end of the year. And I think the only option would be Paulo Costa. Like, do you take that fight if you're Chimaev, or do you wait, hold off a little bit, see what happens with Adesanya Pereira, and see if Colby would fight him?
I think he should hold off to see if he can get a Colby fight or if he could get a title fight at 170.
Yeah, I think you hold off
because here's the issue: if he goes up to middleweight, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder to make 170. And I think he can make 170. He's done it before. However, he's really big for the weight class. It is hard for him to make it anyway. I think. Listen, if you're ever going to plan on getting the championship at 170, do it now, and then build yourself up for real at middleweight. Like really build yourself up at middleweight. because he's gonna be big in middleweight, but there are guys that are really big at middleweight, and
Costa, yeah.
I think if he's gonna do 170, you put in so much work. It's a hard weight cut. Just do it now. Just get it out the way. You're gonna get the belt. Like I don't think anyone beats him at 170.
You just
and then go up.
Hold off a couple like Chimaev, bro. Even if you need to, hold off till after the Usman Leon trilogy.
Yeah.
Like
he'll just get better. He's only 27.
Nothing is going away. His opportunities aren't going away. That he's gonna still if he doesn't fight till then, he's still getting the title shot. You know what I mean?
He's 28 and his birthday is in May. Holy shit! Like he just turned 28, basically. I mean, he'll get so much better.
There's no point of risking it against a guy like Costa. That if you beat him, you're kind of in the same spot as you are right now. You know what I mean? It's kind of I don't think there's any point. I know he loves to fight, and I love that about him. I love that he loves to fight. But I think in this case, you have to hold off until you see maybe I can get a Colby Covington fight. If not, you hold off to either fight for the belt at 85 or 70, one of the two. But
eventually he'll get that 70 title. I think he should just continue to get better, focus on training and just, whatever it takes to get the 170 title shot, do that.
How many more fights does he have to fight before fighting for the title?
He earned. I mean, listen.
He earned it.
I think he earned it with the Burns win.
So I think he earned it. He beat way better guys than Leon Edwards beat before he fought Usman. How many do they really want him to fight one more time? Even the Colby fight, I don't even care to see him fight Colby.
I'd love to see him fight Colby.
I think that would be a great fight. Okay, I take that back. I think that would be a good fight. But I don't think he needs to earn anything else. I don't think he needs to show.
Yeah, he's unironically he has pretty much earned it already. I think
that's what I'm saying.
He's next in line. I think the UFC knows it. I think the UFC. I mean, listen, if Bilal Muhammad beats Sean Brady, the UFC's not going to want to make Bilal Muhammad.
They're not giving Colby another title shot.
They're not going to give Colby. They'll ask Colby. They'll say, "Hey, Colby, do you want to fight Khamzat?" If he says no, they're just going to give Khamzat the title.
Then you don't risk it against Costa. There's only stuff you can lose. What if he gets injured? What if he gets injured? We saw Tom Aspinall. What if Khamzat gets injured against Costa? There goes his title chances. I think there's too much to risk. I say you hold off until you can fight for a belt, unless it's Colby Covington, which is a way more winnable fight than Paulo Costa.
Yeah, I mean, listen, his tougher matchups are at 185 right now. Just get the belt at 170 and fight the tougher matchups when you're improved, when you're that much. And Khamzat improved is unstoppable anyway.
And I also think about Costa. About when you're moving up a weight class, you want to be able to
fully commit,
more muscle, fully commit. Like Rob Whittaker said it. He said if he moves up to 205, he's not coming back down.
Yeah,
fully commit. It's like when he went from 70 to 85. You have to fully commit to fight at 85. I know Chimaev would be a big 85 still, but any 85, they shouldn't be able to make 170 anymore. You shouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
You should gain enough muscle where you can't go back to 170. So I think Chimaev needs to get the belt at 170 and then get the belt at 185. But if Adesanya beats Pereira, I can't. You can't pass up on an opportunity like that, though, in my opinion. But again, like we said, we think Pereira is going to beat Adesanya, so we don't.
Yeah,
it's probably not going to be the case that Adesanya is going to win.
I just think that if Khamzat were to get, first of all, if he moves up to 185, he has to fight again before he gets a title shot. So
unless it's
it's so much easier for him to just do this. Like if you just wait at 170, you're gonna get the title shot, you're gonna win, and then if you're the champion, you're going to get a title shot automatically when you move up. It's a no-brainer.
Makes sense. And then he'll be the champion for 185.
His coach in an interview said that he's gonna want them to stay at 170. I think that's very good.
For now, yeah.
For now, yeah.
The fortunate thing about that is though we'll never see a Shavkat versus Chimaev fight.
Maybe never.
But I'm okay with that.
Unless Shavkat fights someone soon and they make that, but I doubt it.
And I'm okay with that. I'm
okay with that too. So I think he beats Shavkat anyway. So
I would be so happy if Shavkat would be the champion at 70 and Chimaev would be the champion at 80.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Like that would be so cool. I don't care not to see that fight. Yeah, I mean, back with Chimaev, Shavkat, Shavkat, when's the guy gonna fight? I mean, I don't think it has to do with him.
Well, I mean, listen, the issue is there are only so many guys that are in the rankings, and
who would take this fight? Yeah, I don't think
You know, Usman is and Edwards are tangled. Chimaev is not going to fight down. Um, you know, I don't think Holland's going to want to fight that guy. You know, so
Joff Neal maybe Joff Neal. I think Joff Neal would.
I'd love to see that. That'd be a good one.
And I think what's the name would win. I think
Colby
Shavkat.
Covington is such a sad case. Like he's just wasting his prime, bro.
I don't blame him for not fighting Shavkat, but
Yeah, I
I
don't
blame
blame him for
him.
not fighting Shavkat, but I
I
blame him
blame him
for
for
not
not wanting
fighting
to fight
Chimaev.
Chimaev.
Yeah,
I blame him for not wanting to fight Chimaev because that's the right match. Colby Covington's number 2 since Usman's number 1 now.
yeah,
Chimaev's number 3. 2-3 fight. That's how it's supposed to work. Don't duck your opponents, Colby. You know what I mean? Like it's like he's seems like he just doesn't fight people inside the top 5. You know, like
yeah.
I don't even know if the UFC offered him Gilbert Burns. I don't know if he would take that fight. I genuinely don't know. Like I don't know if he would take that fight. So I
Yeah.
mean, I guess what do you do with that? Like, do you offer him what he wants, like a Joff Neal or something? Like he's outside the top 5. Like, do you offer him that, or you say Colby? You either fight Chimaev or Burns, either one of those guys, take it or leave it. Like, what would you do if you're the UFC in this situation?
I would say you either fight, you know, Chimaev or Gilbert Burns, or we're not offering you anything else. Straight up.
That's what the UFC should do. I know Colby Covington's a big star, but Colby Covington needs this more than the UFC needs it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The UFC is never going to need a fighter more than the fighter needs them, unless it's like a Conor McGregor, or
Yeah.
unless it's a Khamzat Chimaev. That's
But
not
honestly, if I'm Colby, and
level.
listen, one of the reasons why I don't think Colby fights that much, I genuinely don't think he's truly believes that he can beat like a Hamzat, for example.
Or Gilbert
And
Burns.
in that case, you might as well just retire. Or if he's truly just trying to get the money and like not take a lot of damage, maybe if that's actually his goal, then maybe he is taking the smart approach. Maybe sit out until you fight an easier guy. Maybe even if you have to sit out a whole year.
That's not going to work though again for Colby Covington. The UFC isn't going to give Colby Covington another title shot after being a washed scrub.
But that's what I'm saying. They could just give him
Not
an
gonna
easy
work.
fight
It's not
and
gonna
not
happen
that,
again.
but won't get him a title shot.
It's not so he has to be either set on not getting another title shot.
That's what I'm
Or
saying.
fight top
I
guys.
don't think he if there's a chance he may not care about the title anymore.
So in that case, then I don't blame him. But I it's hard to believe that, in my opinion. It's hard to believe that a fighter doesn't want to fight for the title. Because heck, Conor McGregor still wants to fight for the title. You know what I'm saying? Like if Conor McGregor wants to fight for a title, I think anybody would want to fight for a title. So I think it's more the case that he's just scared. I think he's scared to fight Chimaev. And you can't be scared of guys. I know Chimaev is a scary dude, but it's I would get it if it's like if it was Chimaev before the Burns fight where he wasn't a high ranked, and if he beat him, there would be nothing much to gain for him. They would just be like, oh, you ended the hype. But in this case, now that Chimaev's number 3 and you're number 2, are you going to take the right fight or are you not? You're a UFC fighter. You shouldn't be scared of these guys. You shouldn't. You're a UFC fighter. You're a cage fighter. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to accept what could happen in the cage. So I don't know. I'm not really that much of a Colby Covington fan anymore because of all this stuff. Like, how can you support him? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you support a guy who ducks fights? I can't support him anymore. So until Colby Covington proves me otherwise, I'm not a Colby Covington fan anymore.
So let's move on to this Dana White Contender Series. Bo Nickal is going to be fighting in 2 weeks, and he is, you know, a guy who dominated his first fight in the Contender Series. The UFC didn't sign him. Again, I just think it's silly that you have someone on a show that's designed where if you have an impressive performance, you get signed by the UFC. That's the whole point of the show. But I guess they want to milk the Contender Series and they want people to watch that show. So Bo Nickal's going to bring a lot of views. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think it's going to be a dominant win from Bo Nickal. So I'm looking forward to that. And then love to see Bo Nickal, you know, for real, fight on a pay-per-view. That'd be really cool. Maybe he fights in December on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the UFC kind of did him dirty a bit.
Yeah.
They kind of used him for attention.
Yeah.
I don't really like that, especially with like fighters getting underpaid in the UFC in general, or like all that fighter paid talk. You know what I mean? All the talk about UFC not giving insurance to to the fighters, like medical bills, like all that stuff. That already is talked about, and you're doing another fighter dirty. Like I don't respect it. Like the UFC said it was because of like he's not ready to fight, but he's
Yeah,
clearly
but like, why are you having him on the contender series in the
exactly
first
like
place?
well,
The whole point of
so
the show is to get a contract. It's
exactly.
ridiculous.
So if he gets another win, if the UFC doesn't sign him, I think he should just go to Bellator or something.
No, they're definitely not gonna. They're definitely gonna sign him.
Okay, so I mean, I still think though it's done him. They did him real dirty, and I think he's gonna get a good victory.
Yeah,
And I think they're gonna have to sign him. So
I'd love, a future matchup could be Bo Nickal and Khamzat Chimaev.
yeah, but dude, I think Chimaev would smoke him. I think.
I mean, like with the wrestling, I don't know, man.
I don't even
Not
think it
with
would
the
go to the
wrestling.
wrestling. It wouldn't even go
It
to
might
the
not go to the wrestling.
Chimaev. There's not many wrestlers like Chimaev who are that good at striking too. That's all I gotta
Yeah,
say.
true.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I'd obviously pick Chimaev right now, but
Also,
Bo Nickal, he could really be working on his striking.
yes, but how do we know that Chimaev isn't a better wrestler than Bo Nickal? That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we know that?
I assume Bo Nickal's probably
country,
a little
like,
bit better because his credit. Well, from what we know, his credentials are better. But that, I mean, that's
you know what I'm saying? We don't know that. Like, we don't know that. Like so like Chimaev is from another country. Like, it's hard to really like compare the success from different countries, you know, especially knowing how good a lot of those guys are.
And also, there's more to just wrestling. There's like submissions and jujitsu. Chimaev has
exactly.
that
Like,
too.
I can't imagine Bo Nickal is a jujitsu that Chimaev has.
Here's a good question. So ADCC is happening right now. Do you know Gordon Ryan?
Gordon Ryan, I do not.
Gordon Ryan is the best grappler on the planet, jiu-jitsu guy on the planet. Gordon Ryan. He's competing today in ADCC. This guy's like, recognized worldwide as the best grappler. He is like 220, 225. He's a big guy. So like keep that in mind. I like to think like, could this guy beat everyone in the UFC on the ground? I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting question for me.
I think it's a lot different. I think there's a lot more to it. You think these guys may not like getting hit. You know what I mean? Like UFC,
yeah, of course.
You're gonna get hit even when you're on the ground. You're gonna get hit, and that is a big variable to it. You know what I'm saying? What if you take a shot and someone goes with a knee? You know what I'm saying? I think there's just so much more to it in the UFC.
No, I'm saying on the ground. Like if, for example, I'm not saying could he beat guys like in general. I'm saying if Gordon Ryan were to get like,
the Charles
Yuri on the ground, I think Yuri would be fucked, for example. Or even like Gordon Ryan's got the submission game to like submit Glover easily. Like that's the kind of level I'm talking about. Okay. So
yeah, so I guess so he would probably submit them, right?
But I mean but then like I mean here's the thing about 205. There aren't that many guys that are amazing at grappling.
That is weight class.
I think if he competed in the UFC, he'd do 205.
Okay, yeah. So because 205's weak maybe. I think he probably would if he got if he got them to the ground, he for sure would. But I just think overall, like I think it's a lot different. I think that there's more to it. Like Bo Nickal could be the sick wrestler.
Yeah.
Like what if he can't take Chimaev down in the first try?
True.
What happens then? What happens if he's standing up with Chimaev?
What do you think about Bo Nickal versus Izzy?
Even that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
So
like,
he needs to prove himself a little bit.
He needs to prove himself. Like just because he's this great wrestler doesn't mean he could like.
Yeah. I think he's gonna be good though, because like guys that usually have that level of credential in wrestling go a long way. Like DC,
definitely
Khabib,
Yoel Romero even, but I know Yoel Romero was a little bit different. But
Yoel too. I mean there aren't many wrestlers that got to high levels in super high levels that didn't do well in the UFC.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think he will do well, and I think it's going to be interesting to like, track his career. But like, I just think that there's just so much more to it, and like,
I'm excited. I mean, there aren't many guys right now in the UFC
prospects
that have like that are crossing over from another sport. Aside from Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya did at one time, but they're right now, or for at least the past year, the only guy's been Alex Pereira. The last wrestler that really crossed into the sport was I don't remember. Maybe
You don't
Ben,
remember
but
Romero? See, like,
that was he was been in the sport for a while. So I'm excited to see a wrestler from a high level come into the UFC. I'm really excited to see it.
yeah, I'm excited to see it also. I just think that like we shouldn't expect him to be that great right away. Like just like we shouldn't expect him to be that great. Let's just say that because like he's has a lot to prove. You know
He
what I
has a
mean?
lot to prove. He beat a
Yeah,
can on the Contender
yeah,
Series.
exactly. So like I think like yeah,
I
he's
think
a
he would.
spectacular
I
fighter.
think he.
You don't know yet.
I'm excited. He's at 185, so I'm excited to see
Khamzat
it.
Chimaev. Khamzat
Yeah,
Chimaev. That'll be the champion in a few years, probably in a year, honestly.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm excited for that. I wanted to like just ask you a real quick question. I forgot to ask you it before, but who do you think would even win, Gilbert Burns or Khamzat Chimaev? No, Gilbert Burns or Colby Covington. Who do you have winning? I don't know if I asked you this
I
before.
have. We've talked about this. I've had Colby.
You'd have Colby. I think I
I
would have.
do. I do. I have
I
Colby
think
winning by decision
I think I would have Burns winning
by finish.
by finish. I don't know if it'd be by finish, but I think
If it's a
actually
five
it'd
rounder,
probably
I
be.
don't think. I don't think he
But,
beats Colby
if
if
it's
it
not a
goes to
five, it
decision.
probably wouldn't be a 5 rounder. When is Colby Covington going to headline a
If
event?
it's a three, well, the thing is, I don't think
So
Colby Covington's smart when it comes to his management.
he's gonna. It's gonna be a
I
fight.
don't think he. I don't think he takes anything that isn't a five rounder.
Yeah, but I don't. Why? Because he's just way better at the 5 rounders.
Yeah, because the thing is, like for example, Tony has been taking three rounders. He should only be taking. Colby Covington's in the position to be like, I only want five rounders, and
It would be
we're in that time where you can fight on a 5 round co-main event for a pay per view. So
or a
I
fight
think,
night.
or a fight night, and I think Colby. I think if he fought Burns, it would be a 5 rounder. I don't think he would sign a contract if it's not a 5 rounder. And if Colby's in a main event, it's going to be 5 rounder. And if it's a co-main event, it's going to be a 5 rounder on a pay-per-view.
That's true. That's true. But I think what is going to happen in the? I mean, the earlier rounds though. Like, what's going to happen with those earlier rounds? Burns got a lot of power.
Burns has big power, but then again, it's like
he's a better boxer.
He's not knocking dudes out though. Like he has power, but I don't remember. I can't think of the last time Burns knocked someone out.
Neither could I. But I just don't see the other thing. I don't see is I don't see Colby having much success on the ground with Burns. That's another factor. So I think it would probably.
I think Colby could outstrike him.
Do you think Colby? You think Colby? I don't think so. I think Burns would.
He outstruck Usman, bro.
He's
outstruck Usman.
Usman's a shit striker, and the reason.
But he's still decent. And Usman outstruck Burns.
No. Usman
knocked him out.
Yes, because of the power. Colby doesn't have that power.
But still, like that, he's outstruck. But that's the thing. But Usman had that power against Colby, and Colby was able to outstrike him here and there. I mean, I think Colby's an underrated striker. I think he's not the best. He's not a great striker, but he's decent. I think Colby. I think he gasses Gilbert out. Gilbert doesn't have the best cardio. He looked like he gassed against Khamzat a little bit.
Yeah, but that was a war, though. I think anybody would gas.
That was a war too, and but he also looked like he was getting tired against Usman,
but he was getting killed.
Woodley was Woodley, and Woodley doesn't do anything anyway. So
yeah, but the thing is, like, why did Usman beat Colby? Because Colby had to fear his power too. Burns has the power advantage also, so he's gonna also.
The thing is, Burns. I just think Usman has that next level cardio as well. And that's why it's so competitive with Colby.
That is what's true about it.
But Burns doesn't. I just think Burns doesn't have that. And Colby's number one key to victory is that cardio and pace. I think he just breaks guys. Like I've never seen Colby Covington not break someone aside from Kamaru.
Old guys. He breaks old guys.
But yes, true. But again, in his come up.
But he was still
RDA. He broke RDA.
RDA was not having that success.
But RDA gave Fiziev a tough fight, and that was 4 years later.
That was at 55.
True, but I mean, RDA wasn't washed. He was still decent. He was still good.
But like he was small for 70.
True. But Colby Covington, again, on his come up was dominating guys that were ranked and all that. I mean, I think Colby, I truly I truly think that he has a good chance of beating Burns. I picked Burns in a 3-rounder. I picked Burns in a 3-rounder. I
Also,
picked Colby in a 5-rounder. I
I
think
want to. I just want to talk before like we finish the show. I want to talk a little about matchups in 170 because
yeah.
I think there's a lot of matchups that I just want to hear who you think would win. Who do you think would win, Gilbert Burns or Leon Edwards?
I think Leon.
You think how would he win?
I think Leon. I think Leon just listen.
Leon doesn't have the best.
Gilbert Burns is basically like Usman without the wrestling skills. As we saw why Usman beat Leon Edwards. Was beating Leon Edwards because of his wrestling. He was taking him down. He's pressuring up him against the fence. Had that threat of the takedown the whole time. Leon Edwards has good grappling. He has good takedown defense.
Yeah.
Gilbert Burns, I don't see him taking down Leon Edwards. I think Leon Edwards outstrikes him.
Okay, that's a really good point actually.
Yeah.
That's a great point. That I was kind of iffy about it, but then now
I think Leon,
I think Leon. I think Burns, he's a good wrestler too.
Burns is good. He's
not like
good.
Usman. He's not Usman in terms of wrestling. He couldn't submit Wonder Boy. How is he going to submit Leon Edwards? So I do. I think Leon would win by decision.
Yeah.
What about
Burns Shavkat would be amazing.
I mean, I think I would probably pick Shavkat.
I pick Shavkat.
But I think he still needs to fight another fight. He
needs to fight another guy, yeah.
What about, let's think, what other matchups are there? I was gonna Leon Edwards or Colby. Who do you think wins that?
I think Colby beats him.
How does Colby beat him? Do you think he like breaks him down?
I think Colby doesn't make the same mistake as Usman. I think he sticks on him and doesn't give him any space and gasses him out. I think Colby breaks Leon Edwards. Listen, I'm going to be real. Leon Edwards won against Kamaru. He didn't give up, but he looked like he broke multiple times in that fight. He just, for some reason, he was able to get it back in the 5th round. He brought himself back to where he needed to be, but he looked like he had broke in the 3rd, 4th round. I just think Colby doesn't give him space at all. I think Colby in that 5th round doesn't come out and try to trade jabs. I think he goes right back to wrestling and wrestles him. I think he beats him by decision.
I agree with you, but I think the thing about Colby that's a little bit different than Usman. Usman's wrestling is more about control.
Yeah.
Total control, grind the ground. He's not necessarily going to go for submissions. He's not trying to he doesn't really necessarily smother a guy.
Yeah.
He just tries to hold him on the ground.
Yeah.
And keep him controlled, keep him not having any threats of anything.
Colby lands
Covington smothers people.
Ground and pound.
Colby Covington goes with ground and pound. He goes for the submissions. He makes it ugly.
Yeah.
Usman doesn't make it ugly like that. And I think if he fought Leon, I think he'd be able to take Leon down. I think he'd be able to make it ugly.
Leon, I'm picking Usman to beat Leon in the trilogy, by the way.
I have to think a lot more about that before that. I probably lean Usman right now, but I have to think.
I'm going to lean Usman after, listen, I think Usman's not going to give him space at all. I think he's just going to wrestle. And from what I saw, his wrestling worked last time. The altitude could be a little bit of a difference, but if it's not the biggest difference, if the altitude wasn't the reason why he was getting out wrestled so easily, I'm going to go with Usman again.
What about Chimaev Leon? I mean, I think Chimaev would submit it.
Yeah, Chimaev.
Let's see. What other matchups? Sean Brady versus. Do you think the winner of Sean Brady versus Bilal Muhammad would beat Shavkat?
No.
What about Shavkat versus Colby?
That's a good fight. I
think Shavkat. I think Shavkat would beat Colby.
I don't know, man. I can't pick that. That's a weird fight for me because I think Shavkat's more dangerous on the feet, and I don't know. That'd be a really good one. I don't even. That's a weird one. I'd love to see that fight. Colby won't ever take it.
Oh, he wouldn't. I mean, I don't blame him for not.
Oh, how about Jeff Neal versus Gilbert Burns?
I think Gilbert Burns would smoke him.
Okay. Yeah. I think that Jeff Neal's good takedown defense, by the way.
You know what I thought about? What the UFC is going to make? What the UFC, this is 100% what the UFC is going to do.
Jeff Neal and Khamzat?
No. They're going to have the winner of Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady fight Gilbert Burns. 100%.
Sean Brady, Bilal Muhammad.
The winner's for sure going to fight Gilbert Burns. For sure.
Why? Because no one else is gonna fight him.
because that's what makes sense in the rankings. That's the next step up
Who?
after the win.
What is Bilal Muhammad's what, fifth?
He's like 5 or 6. Gilbert Burns
Yeah,
is like 4. Like that's what makes the most sense.
I
So
like that.
I think if they beat Gilbert Burns, they'd fight Colby Covington or something. You know what I mean? I think that's like the
I don't
last.
see any of those guys beating Gilbert
No, I
Burns.
don't think they beat Gilbert Burns, but I think that would be the next step up for Gilbert Burns. I think that would give Gilbert Burns an easy
Well,
win.
let's talk about this. Who do you think wins, Bilal Muhammad or Sean Brady?
I'm hoping Bilal Muhammad wins. That's all I got to say. I mean, I'm hoping he wins.
Honestly,
I
I mean,
never thought
listen,
I'd
I
say
have
that.
no fear that he loses. I don't think Sean Brady beats him. I think Sean Brady is not going to outstrike him, and I don't think Sean Brady is going to
Wrestle.
take him to the ground.
I hope you're right. I'm gonna lean Bilal just because of like hoping, because
Sean Brady sucks. He's so
yeah,
boring.
I don't like. I think Bilal is boring too, but Bilal is at least funny.
Yeah.
I'm saying like Bilal at
Yeah.
least talks. He at least will talk to you at least do interviews and stuff. He'll at least tweet. I don't see any Sean Brady interviews. I don't see any Sean Brady tweets. You don't see anything from this guy. You don't
Yeah.
see anything from the octagon. Other
Sean
than
Brady reminds me of Gillespie. What happened to Gillespie at lightweight?
no idea. No idea.
He was the guy that was saying, I'm going to fight Tony or no one else. And
But
Tony's literally like just moved up and lost Nate Diaz, and he still hasn't fought.
Sean Brady wouldn't even say something like that.
Yeah.
like Sean
Oh
Brady.
yeah, Gillespie is like he was doing well. He's like Colby in my opinion. I just hope Colby fights.
Yeah. I mean,
Darren Till versus Dricus Du Plessis. Who are you picking?
Duplessis.
I'm picking Du Plessis by submission.
I don't think Darren Till's motivated anymore. We talked about this a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
The dude is not in it. You can't not be in it in this sport. This is not a sport where you can half-ass it. You can't. You can't just start training hard once you get into training camp. That doesn't work for the UFC. That doesn't work for combat sports. So I think Duplessis is going to smoke him. I think he's going to finish him. I could be a submission, could be a knockout. I just know that he's going to finish him. That's what I think, and it is the right fight for Darren Till.
If Till can keep that standing, it'll be really interesting.
Yes, but I don't see him keeping it standing. Till has a hole in his game that's just unfixable.
And also, if the Du Plessis is gonna threaten with takedowns and submissions, Till's gonna open himself up to getting hit on the feet. And Du Plessis has power.
I think Till's a lost cause, honestly. I don't.
It sucks, man, because Till gave Whitaker a tough fight. Like Till he has talent. He has a lot of talent.
Oh yeah,
Till is an example of a guy. He's like the opposite of Vettori. If Till had Vittori's mindset, he could be really dangerous.
He'd be a champion. I mean,
he could be a champ, maybe. But the issue with Till is that he has the talent. He just doesn't have the fucking he doesn't have the commitment
at all. And I think what I think
it's sad. It's so sad to see.
It is.
I remember him coming up and fighting Woodley, and everyone thought he was going to win, and he's fallen so far since then.
And I think that would actually be a tough fight for Israel Adesanya. Which is the sad thing.
I think it'd be an interesting fight. Yeah. I don't think Israel Adesanya runs away. That'd be a close one.
Yeah, especially if you had the mindset, that would be a very close fight. So I think the whole Darren Till thing is very sad, and I'd have to pick Duplessis. I can't. How can I pick a guy who's not training super hard in the offseason, who's getting DUIs, all that stuff?
I would love to see Till win, man.
I would also. I can't see it. I really can't. I just can't see a guy like.
But then again, we remember his last fight was Brunson. We've never seen him fight since training with Khamzat.
Yes, but then he's gotten the DUI since then.
True.
Like he's clearly not in it right now. Like I just can't. What if he's also too focused on Khamzat? Like what if he's trying to make Khamzat the best fighter? You know what I'm saying? Like that could easily be the case. So I can't pick Till. I had to pick a Duplessis. He's a guy who's probably busting his ass the full year. You know what I mean? Who's only getting better. His win against Brad Tavares was very impressive. So I'm gonna have to pick Duplessis, but I think it'll be an interesting fight. When is that? UFC 282?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they add anything else on UFC 282, because right now they just said it was Glover versus Yuri 2.
I hope they add some. I hope they do John Jones and Stipe.
or John Jones versus Cyril Gane. But I mean, Cyril Gane is the broken hand, right?
Yeah.
I
They
just hope they
better
don't,
add a good main event, and
I
it
just
better
hope they
not
don't.
be.
Valentina Shevchenko, like, what if they add that? I would just be so pissed.
I'd be so pissed if that was
They
the
may
fuck.
do that. They may do that. Like, I think it's definitely a concern.
Hey, if they put Patty Pimblett on it, I'll be cool with that.
I mean, Patty Pimblett said he's going to be. So it'll be what they would have Darren Till,
Yuri, Glover, Patty versus someone.
and Darren Till versus someone. Let me ask you, would you be upset if they put Valentina Shevchenko against someone as the co-main? If they had those other guys?
I would be upset only because it would be instead of like John Jones and Stipe.
Yeah, yeah. But do
I
you
mean,
think
would I still like that card? Sure, but still, I mean, who's Valentina gonna fight? These are the issues with these women's divisions. Is no one gives a fuck about the
there's
next
not big
fight.
names? There's not big names. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's not someone to challenge.
There's like 2 big names per division, and in Valentina's division, there are no big names.
Yeah, and I think with Juliana and Amanda, like that's someone who challenged her. There's not that many cases like that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what they're gonna do. Unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna make a deal with John Jones versus Stipe. I don't think Stipe wants to fight John Jones. I think John Jones is they're gonna have him fight Francis. You know, I mean, when
Francis, that might not even be until March.
So they'll have him fight Cyril Gane once Cyril Gane recovers.
Francis. This is why Francis sucks as a champion. He's just gonna keep getting injured.
Yeah,
he's a big guy, probably picks up injuries, and this is the issue with a guy like Francis being champion.
Yeah, I like Francis as champion, but like, it's annoying having your champion only fight once a year.
Dude, the heavyweight champions like never fight. It sucks.
It's not good for business. It's not good for business. You know,
I really want to see Jones fight.
If Jones was the champion, I'd be happy because I could see.
I think Jones likes to stay active.
He does like to stay active. If you look at his career, if he's not, when he wasn't getting in trouble
he's
by the
fighting
law,
like 4 times a year.
When he wasn't getting in trouble by the law, he was always fighting. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think Francis is a champion. He's a good, like, he's entertaining as a fighter, but he just doesn't fight enough. He's fought 2 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You
and outside of the cage, I can't listen to a Francis Ngannou interview.
Oh, he's such a nice guy, but he's like so boring. You know what I
mean? Exactly.
Like, even if Cyril Gane was champion, I'd be happy about that.
Yeah, Cyril Gane would be an amazing champion. I think he's gonna be champion. If John Jones, I mean, I think Cyril Gane will be champion someday.
Win that fight, John Jones or Cyril Gane?
I don't know. I haven't seen Cyril Gane wrestling, so it's 50-50. Yeah. I don't know.
It's so hard to pick John Jones at heavyweight, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a tricky thing. But Cyril Gane isn't a massive heavy. Like, he's 247. John Jones in that situation would be able to come in at like 230 or 235. If he fought Francis, he'd have to come in bigger just because of how big Francis is. So I think that kind of changes a lot. And I think that would benefit John Jones a lot than versus fighting a guy like Francis. That's why I like the Stipe fight, because he didn't need to come in that massive. Stipe probably would have came in at 240, 235. Like, John Jones didn't need to come in too bulked up. You know what I mean? So that I don't know who'd win, but I think that could be John Jones. But I don't know. I think the heavyweight.
Damn, it's almost been 2 years since Stipe fought.
I don't think he's returning. We haven't heard a thing from him.
The UFC should just kick him out of the company.
I mean, he still has a couple fights left on his contract, though. That's the thing. So I think the UFC, he probably hasn't said anything about retirement. You know what I mean? So, like, I think they're kind of in a situation where he's not accepting a fight, but like, he's not saying he's going to retire. You know what I mean? So I think it's a bit of a situation with the UFC, but I just hope we get one of these fights. You know what I'm saying? Is that too much to ask for a big heavyweight fight in the next few months?
I know.
It's to ask.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, do you have anything else to say before we end the podcast?
I think we've covered just about everything for this week.
Same. It's been a good episode, guys.
Check it, subscribe, comment, leave a like.
Comment what you guys want to see us talk about.
And let us know what you guys want us to talk about in the next podcast.
For sure. It's been a pleasure. Talk to you guys next time.